الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To give a short introduction of myself, I'm Khalid Abdus Salam. I happen to be the son of the founder of this college, as per College of Excellence, Sheikh Abdus Salam al-Madani Hafidhahullah ta'ala. And my specialization is in Bachelor's of Islamic Studies in Fiqh al-Muqaran, which is also known as Comparative Fiqh, where you study all the four famous schools of fiqh and you compare them to know what's the best opinion and how you have to compare and all that study. That's my expertise. And to be a student of Islamic studies or Sharia, like for example we have medical practitioners over here or engineers, you might be agreeing to this also because you've gone to school. You will agree to this that, before you get into, a major or expertise, you learn everything. And then you come to a stage where you learn something from, like for example, you've become a doctor and you've become a cardiologist. It does not mean that you should neglect all the other branches of science. Similarly, when it comes to Islamic studies, when a person is an expert in a field of Islamic studies, it does not mean that he's not aware of anything else. It means that he's taken something of all these sciences. But this subject which I'm going to take today is related to akhlaq or good manners, or we can say etiquettes over here. And the reason this subject has been, is taken is because this is the most essential part of learning Islam. Not just learning Islam, but also preaching Islam. You need to know or practice some good manners or some akhlaq. To be a proper Muslim also, because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in a hadith, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have been sent to complete good manners. Rasulullah is saying, I have been sent to complete good manners, which means that the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam becomes completion of good manners. So if a person who claims to be a Muslim has some fault in this area, he is not having the proper understanding or practice of being a Muslim, because he is not completing the message which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had come with, right? So basically, when we talk about akhlaq, before we get into the introduction or into depth of this particular book, I want to question the brothers and sisters over here. What does akhlaq mean to you? Question number one. Question number two is akhlaq restricted to some branches of a person's life? That when it comes to akhlaq or good manners, of knowledge, of seeking knowledge, how many akhlaq can you list out? I'll give you 5 minutes before we'll get into the depth of this book. done, can we proceed? I need 3 yeses. Can we proceed? Perfect. This book which we will take today, the name of this book is Etiquette Talib al-Ilm. Etiquette Talib al-Ilm. Hilya in Arabic also means adornment or jewelry. So Hilya Talib al-Ilm is something that beautifies a student of Sharia. Talib al-Ilm is a student of knowledge. And this terminology, student of knowledge, is used by every scholar, because scholar is basically a student of knowledge. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi said, when he was asked, how long are you going to seek knowledge? He said, min al-mahbara ila al-maqbara, from writing in the classroom until maqbara, which is the graveyard. So from the beginning of his birth and his seeking of knowledge until his death, he is always going to study Islam and seek knowledge. So student of knowledge is not used by any random student. It is specifically used by the students or by those who devoted their life to seek the knowledge of Islam, which is the divine knowledge of Quran and Hadith. So all the Islam comes back to Quran and Hadith. Anyone who says anything besides Quran and Hadith is not from Islam, because they should have some link back to Quran and Hadith, because the difference between Muslims or the difference between Islam from other religions or other faiths is this, that we don't blindly follow. That's why we always say to become a Muslim by choice, not a Muslim by birth. A Muslim by choice is someone who knows why he's practicing a certain belief, why he's practicing Islam, and why he chose to be a Muslim or to be identified as a Muslim. But then when you ask someone why you are a Muslim and they cannot reply to it, they are Muslim because they did not choose to become a Muslim. They were Muslim because their parents named them Abdullah or Aisha. The parents named them, otherwise they never put in efforts to learn this faith. So there's a difference when a person says, I'm a Muslim by choice and a Muslim by birth. Not all the Muslims by birth have the perfect level of Iman, because they don't know what their belief is. When you look into the followers of other faiths, when you go and ask, because we have colleagues and we live in the community where we have diversity, when you go and ask them, why do you follow Hinduism, or what is the rules and regulations of Christianity and all that stuff, they all tell you that, we cannot reply to this because this is nothing of our expertise, or we have not looked into this. So what's going to be the difference between a Muslim, a Hindu, a Christian, and other beliefs? What is going to be the difference? That's what Islam outstands with, or the outstanding quality of Islam is that Islam calls the believers to follow Islam with evidences and with proofs, not blind following. This is the reason in Surah Al-Hujurat, when the people come to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and they say, قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا. When the Bedouins come to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and they say, قالت الأعراب آمنا, we have believed. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, قل لم تؤمنوا. Allah the Almighty orders Rasulullah to say, لم تؤمنوا, you have not believed. ولكن قولوا أسلمنا, but rather say that we have submitted ourselves. We have submitted ourselves. We have not believed. That's what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is telling them. The reason is because they did not put in efforts to learn this religion. They know that there is a man calling himself or proclaiming to be a messenger of Allah. They come and they say, we believe. No, we don't believe it. You've just learned that there is a man and we are following him. So when coming to the akhlaq or etiquettes of good manners, Hilya Talib al-Ilm, the book in Arabic, this is the translation of that book. We seek our akhlaq, we get our good manners from Quran and from Hadith. And I hope you are aware of Bulugh al-Maram, the book of Hadith, Bulugh al-Maram. I don't know, is it taught in Aspire College of Excellence? Good. In the last chapter or the last book, because it is comprising of many books, Kitab al-Tahara, Kitab al-Salah, like that. In the end, if you go, there is Kitab al-Jami', the comprised book. Kitab al-Jami' is completely about akhlaq, good manners. And my humble suggestion or opinion is if you can try to memorize them, or at least read them, you can do it, inshallah. Read it, or try to memorize it. If you want to get some challenge, you can memorize it, and then practice it. And you'll see a difference in your own life, inshallah. And memorizing a hadith is nothing of a big challenge or difficulty. You just need efforts. And the number of ahadith in this is approximately 132. 132 ahadith are there. So every day if you take even one hadith, I think you're going to memorize it in approximately 4 months. It's not a big deal, inshallah. So, beginning with akhlaq, the scholars, when they used to send their students or their sons, or whenever they used to start teaching Islam in their times, in the previous days, they used to say statements like, if you learn 40 years of akhlaq, good manners and etiquettes, that's more than enough for me than you learning 4 to 10 years of Islamic studies and knowledge, because knowledge without akhlaq is blind knowledge and it is disrespect. So scholars used to say statements like this, and they were really serious about akhlaq. This is the reason you'll see, even today when you go on YouTube, you see the senior scholars, if their videos are available, you'll see that they'll remind the students once, twice, the third time they'll close their book. This happens in Masjid al-Nabawi, the videos are there on the internet. Senior scholars of today, they remind the students once, they remind them twice, the third time they walk out. They leave the book, they close the book, they get up from the chair and leave. This happens right in the Prophet's mosque. That is the example, or scholars have said, when it comes to seeking this divine knowledge, because this is literally respecting Quran and Hadith. When you don't respect this knowledge, or when you don't learn these akhlaq and etiquettes, you're not respecting Quran and Hadith, because Islam studies as a whole comes back to Quran and Hadith. If you look into the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Quran says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best example and role model for everyone. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Uswatun hasana. Uswa, example, good example. Not just good example. Uswa means example or role model. Hasana is good. So Rasulullah is a good example or role model for everyone. So when you look into the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as they call him Al-Muallim Al-Awwal, the first teacher of Islam. Al-Muallim Al-Awwal. Who are the students of this Muallim Al-Awwal? This first teacher of Islam are the Sahaba, the companions. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and all the other Sahaba which you might be aware of and which you are not aware of, Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in. So we go back into their lives and we see how Sahaba used to deal when Rasulullah used to speak. When a person comes from outside Medina, he does not know who Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he comes to Medina, the narrations say that it is difficult for them to identify who Rasulullah is, because when Rasulullah is sitting, all the Sahaba are sitting just like Rasulullah is sitting, to the extent that the narrations, the ahadith say and teach us that if there was a bird to come and sit on the shoulders or the heads of these Sahaba, the bird would have been sitting over there, because birds, when they feel a little bit of vibration, they fly off. So imagine their respect. Look at Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, he came immediately after the Sahaba. So he was the student of the Sahaba. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, it is told about Imam Malik, it is told about Imam Ash-Shafi'i, it is told and narrated about Imam Abu Hanifa and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, all these famous scholars. It is said about them that they used to turn the pages of the book and there was no sound when they were turning, out of respect for the teachers. It is said about Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi, who happens to be the student of Imam Malik. All these four scholars, or the famous Imam, all of them are the students and teachers of one another. Now, if I have the board and marker, I can write it and show it to you. The marker is available over there. Okay. So this is not into akhlaq, but I'm telling you, we were looking into good manners and akhlaq. So I was telling you about how Imam Shafi'i used to respect Imam Malik, and I came to this, right? We'll take Abu Hanifa, or do you want me to write in Arabic? I don't have any issues. If you can read Arabic, then I'll write in Arabic, no problem. We have Abu Hanifa, he has two students. He has Abu Yusuf, he has many students, three were very famous. I'm going to mention only two, Abu Yusuf. And we have Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. What's the one? We have a Shafi'i over here. We have Malik. He came up around the same time as Abu Hanifa, a little bit later, so we'll consider them in one level. We have a Shafi'i over here. And among this same era came Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So he was the last one from these famous ones to arrive. Okay, so you see a Shafi'i, we have a different color. Okay, a Shafi'i was born in the same year when Abu Hanifa passed away. He was born in the same year. So yeah, right. So a Shafi'i did not meet Abu Hanifa, but whom he met was these two. So a Shafi'i became the student of Abu Yusuf and Muhammad. Then he goes to study with Imam Malik. So a Shafi'i learned from the students of Abu Hanifa. He goes to Imam Malik and he studies with Imam Malik. Ahmad ibn Hanbal comes and studies with Imam Shafi'i. I hope this is clear to everyone. So they're not different, they all learn from one another. So it is told about the Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi when he went to learn from Imam Malik. It is said that Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi did not have a pen when he was sitting in Imam Malik's class. And Imam Malik was really strict about teaching and about akhlaq and about good manners, to the extent that a person in Aqidah, you might have heard this statement, al-istiwa'u ma'lumun wal-kayfu majhul was-su'alu anhu bid'ah. I don't know if you've heard this statement, that you should not ask about asma wa sifat. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi was really serious. If persons come and ask him dumb questions, for example, he would get really angry and he would throw them out of his classroom out of disrespect for this knowledge. Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi did not have a pen. So what he was doing was, he was using his fingertip. He kept his hand, a palm in front of him, and he was using his saliva to write, to pretend that he's making notes, out of fear and respect for Imam Malik. And Imam Malik had this arrangement. The senior most students come in front, and then the ones who came later, and then later, depending on the seniority in seeking knowledge, not in age. So the more they understood, they used to come so that they can benefit more. So Imam al-Shafi'i was sitting at a distance and he wished to come and sit in front out of his thirst for knowledge. So Imam Malik noticed that al-Shafi'i is doing some scribbling in his hand. So he calls him and says, "What is this?" He says, "I don't have a pen and I was trying to make some notes and I was not able to write down, so I was writing it on my hand out of respect for you." Imam Malik got so angry, Imam Malik was about to throw him away from the class. Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi managed to convince Imam Malik. He said, "Yeah, Imam, everything you have taught, I'll tell it to you by heart. Imam Malik said, are you serious? Because the Shafi'i was a really little boy. He was very young. So he said this, and Malik said, okay, try. And Shafi'i said word by word what Malik had thought in that lecture. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi got really impressed by him, and from that day Shafi'i was sitting in front. A little boy comes to the front to sit with the most senior students of Imam Shafi'i. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi has a book called Al-Muwatta. Have you heard of this book? Muwatta Imam Malik. It is a book of ahadith. One of the famous narrators of this book happens to be Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi. One of the famous narrators of this book happens to be Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi. Another thing, because majority of the students sitting over here, or probably everyone sitting over here, are from the sisters. Shafi'i, how did he go to Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi? Anyone have any idea? Shafi'i, how did he go to Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi? He was a little boy, and Imam Malik was really famous for his knowledge and for his strictness when it comes to teaching. The mother of Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi wanted her son Shafi'i, Idris ibn Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i. The name of Imam Shafi'i is Muhammad bin Idris. So she wanted her son Muhammad ibn Idris to go and become the student of this great scholar of that era. So she looked into what can impress Imam Malik, like how her son can win the trust of Imam Malik. And she realized that Imam Malik had written down Al-Muwatta. She made her son memorize that book before he goes to Imam Malik. And when Shafi'i reaches Imam Malik, and Shafi'i wants to become the student of Imam Malik refused, looking at his young age. So Shafi'i said, yeah, Imam, I can prove to you that I'm not joking around with this knowledge. I've really come from Baghdad and from that long distance, from Gaza. Shafi'i was born in Gaza, Palestine. So I've come from there. Imam Malik was there in Baghdad and Kufa in Iraq. Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa was in Baghdad and Kufa. Shafi'i was in Gaza, Palestine today. So Shafi'i said that I've come from that distance, I'm not joking, and I can prove to you that I'm really serious about this knowledge. And he goes on to prove by reciting Al-Muwatta Imam Malik by heart, which won the trust of Imam Malik. This is in the biographies of our prior scholars from the past and from the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim ajma'in. From Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself, when he goes to Isra and Mi'raj, he meets Adam, Yahya, Isa, Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, and all these prophets and messengers of Allah. When you read the seerah, you see how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was talking to every prophet and messenger with respect, with their deserving respect, even though Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has his own status in the sight of Allah, and he happens to be the leader of all these prophets and messengers. But even then, because of the seniority, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave them their deserving respect and status. Not because of age, not because of their gender. When it comes to gender, I'll tell you a story. Not because of their gender, not because of their age, but because of their devotion and services to Islam. When it comes to the story of genders, Fatima al-Baghdadiyya. Anyone has heard about this name, Fatima al-Baghdadiyya? She happens to be the student of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi. We are aware of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi. He has many famous students like Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi. He has famous students like Al-Dhahabi rahmatullahi alayhi. He has students like Imam Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi. One of those happens to be Fatima al-Baghdadiyya. Fatima al-Baghdadiyya is a lady, is a female scholar of Islam who happens to be the colleague of Ibn Qayyim al-Dhahabi and all these. great scholars of Islam. They're not famous because their stories are not being circulated or narrated. Otherwise, the discrimination that only men are going to be scholars is wrong. There is one more scholar who's living right today in Mauritania. His name is Walid Hassan Al-Dadu. I don't know if you're aware of him, Walid Hassan Al-Dadu. He's there on YouTube and internet also. His videos are famous. There's a video of him telling who his teachers are in Islamic studies before he became a scholar or before he went to a university or Jamiat al-Imam in Saudi or somewhere else. He says that I learned Quran, I learned Tajweed, I learned Aqidah, I learned Arabic grammar, dictionaries of Arabic, and I learned so many other sciences of Islam, Qira'at, Hifz, and Arabic literature and poetry and all that. He names the women of his family. He says my mom, my grandma, my maternal grandma's aunt, my mom's aunt, my father's grandmother, my father's aunt, and he goes on to say just ladies. 5 minutes of video, inshallah. This video I'll play it tomorrow or maybe some other time, inshallah. I just want you to see 5 minutes. He just says women from his family, So these are the women scholars of Islam in today's time, in the past, but they have not become famous because they used to keep themselves in their limitations, not come in front of the non-mahram and all those. We have many, if I'm not wrong, her name is Fatima Al-Dahlawi. I think you're aware of Shah Waliullah Al-Dahlawi. These are the scholars of the Indian peninsula of India from the past, about 70, 80 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago. So even in those families, they had women scholars. To add more to the services of women for Islam, Sheikh Muhammad Khalid Al-Husari, how many of you are aware of Mahmud Khalid Al-Husari? Is a Qari or reciter of Quran. Mahmud Khalid Al-Husari. How many of you are aware of him? He is a very famous Qari of Quran. He passed away. He wrote a book, Rihlati fil Islam, My Journeys in Islam. It is there in Arabic, it's not there in English. In that book, he begins by narrating his journey to India in about 1960s. He came to India in the month of Ramadan. He goes on to say that I was really shocked to see the Indian, forget the Indian men, I was really shocked to see Indian women reciting Quran and completing Quran. And not just reciting and completing and memorizing Quran, these are his words. He goes on to say that there were women in Indian continent or in India in 1960s who had more than one qira'at in Quran. Like for example, when we read Maliki Yawmiddin, we have Maliki Yawmiddin, we have Ya Zakariya, and we have Ya Zakariya, Hunalika da'a Zakariya Rabbah, Hunalika da'a Zakariya Rabbah. And if you look into Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad, there's also another recitation which goes as Kaf, He, Ya, Ain, Sad, and there is Wadduha, Wallayli Idha Saja, Wadduhi, Wallayli Idha Saja. So these are dialects of Quran. Mahmud Khalid Al-Husari says, I saw Indian women reciting these 7 dialects of the Quran in 1960s. Very recently, right? So these are some stories of the past and the knowledge of the women of Islam, not from the past but from today's time also. This scholar, Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, the author of this book, Hilya Talib al-Ilm, happens to be from the recent scholars of this era. He's not from the past. His photos are there on the internet. He happens to be the student of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahmatullahi alayh. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, he passed away in 2000. Bakr Abu Zayd is the student of Ibn Uthaymeen. The relationship of Ibn Uthaymeen and Bakr Abu Zayd and the importance of this book can be known that Ibn Uthaymeen, rahmatullahi alayh, after Bakr Abu Zayd completed the compilation of the book, Ibn Uthaymeen gave lectures on the explanation of this book in Masjid al-Haram. Kitabu Talib al-Ilm or Kitab al-Ilm, Kitab al-Ilm is a book by Ibn Uthaymeen rahmatullahi alayhi. It's a really short book. That's actually actually the explanation of this book. That's the status of this student in the sight of his teacher, that his teacher was compelled to explain this book. Now, if you look at knowledge when it comes to seeking knowledge, it is not just knowledge about, it is not just akhlaq about seeking knowledge or etiquettes about seeking knowledge. First, it is akhlaq in your own self or manners of your soul, discipline of your soul. The second, it comes to discipline with your teacher. The third, it comes to discipline with that knowledge which you have, or akhlaq or good manners in dealing with that knowledge. And it goes on, like you can see approximately 7 manners he's mentioned, and then he goes in detail, like 100 pages of just explaining these. The first is akhlaq or good manners with your own self, and that has some subtopics within that. The first one is Allah the Almighty says in the Quran, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. When the Quran is being recited, فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ, listen to it carefully. It is not سَمِعُوا, فَاسْمَعُوا. Sami'a and istama'a has a difference in it. Sami'a is to listen, istama'a is careful listening. This is in Arabic grammar, it is in detail, but I'm just explaining so that you should understand this ayah. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ, when the Quran is being recited, فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ, listen to it carefully, وَأَنصِتُوا, and maintain silence. Quran is what we are learning in the form of fiqh, we are learning in the form of aqidah, we are learning in the form of different subjects in tafsir, for example. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. And in another ayah in Quran, Allah the Almighty says, وَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. When you begin the recitation of Quran, ista'idh billah, seek refuge, and then begin the recitation of this. The reason is you seek refuge in Allah the Almighty from shaitan, so that you can be free and you can be safe from the plots of shaitan, because shaitan tries to deviate you from learning this knowledge, because this eventually takes you to Jannah or paradise. If you look in the levels of paradise, and if you look at the people who enter paradise, you look at the thing that's differentiating them is their discipline. Bilal radiallahu anhu, his footsteps were heard by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in paradise. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam questions him saying, why did I hear your footsteps in paradise? Bilal radiallahu anhu says, after every time I perform wudu, I go and recite 2 rak'at, which is called as tahiyyatul wudu. That was his discipline. He used to do it regularly, to the extent that Allah the Almighty made Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam hear the footsteps of Bilal in paradise. Look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his discipline, why he gets maqam mahmud, no one else deserves maqam mahmud. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, despite his sins, despite his actions being forgiven, all his past and the future coming actions and sins being forgiven, Rasulullah used to stand in night prayers until his legs were swollen, and Aisha radiallahu anha, al-Mu'mineen, says, Ya Rasulullah, why do you stand in such lengthy prayers when your sins have been forgiven? He says, أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا, shouldn't I be a grateful servant of Allah the Almighty? Look at the discipline of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam when it comes to his wife Sarah Azam alayhi salatu wassalam, when this tyrant king comes and takes her away due to her beauty and tries to do immoral acts with her, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam sends Sarah away and he stands in prayer. And what happens is, when she comes back, she sees Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam is still in the prayer asking Allah for help. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, the hadith goes to say that he points like this to Sarah because he's in prayer and he says, let me complete my prayer. Like he's indicating, I want to complete my prayer. So he started the prayer, he's completely devoted in fulfilling the duties of that prayer and the rights of that prayer. Even when his wife has come back safely, he's not diverted. The discipline. Look at the discipline of Rasulullah or the manners of Rasulullah in talking with Musa alayhi salatu wasalam when it comes to the story of the obligation of 50 prayers. Then it comes to a little bit lesser and lesser until it finally settles to 5 daily prayers. What Rasulullah says is, I'm shy to go regularly and constantly to Allah. I'm really shy to disturb Allah the Almighty. So when these are the good manners or the akhlaq and the discipline of those from the past with whose sacrifices, like the prophets have lost their lives, not just Sahaba, not just scholars lost their lives, but the prophets have lost their lives. Anyone can name one prophet who's lost his life in the path of the message of, or the preaching of the message of Allah the Almighty? One prophet. Or you can keep it as your homework. We'll discuss that tomorrow, inshallah. So these are the prophets who lost their lives. We have Sahaba who lost their lives. We have the students of Sahaba who lost their life. And Imam Malik, I think we know the famous incident of Imam Malik, or the famous issue that goes on with Malikiyya is that they stand like this and they pray. They don't keep their hands like this or like this or like this, whatever. They keep their hands like this. And what they say is Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi used to keep his hands like this. Like this. Isba'an. Bidul qabd. Okay? So, the reason, if you look into the story of Imam Malik, he was punished by the ruler in his time to the extent that his hands got paralyzed and he was not able to control his hands. His hands were down like that without his control. He did not have control on his hands. So that's the reason Imam Malik used to keep his hands down. And if you look at Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi, the author of the most authentic book after Quran, أصح الكتب بعد كتاب الله الباري صحيح البخاري. This is the statement on the tongues of the scholars. أصح الكتب بعد كتاب الله الباري. The most authentic book after Quran is Sahih al-Bukhari. What happened to Imam Bukhari when he respected knowledge? There was this king who told Imam Bukhari to come and teach his students and his sons, and that when he teaches, his sons need to have a different place where they come behind the curtain and sit because they are prince and all the royals, so they don't want to sit. The discrimination between the normal public and all that. Bukhari said no. Al-ilmu yu'ta ilay. Al-ilmu la ya'ti bal yu'ta ilay. Ilm, the knowledge is not gonna come. Al-ilmu la ya'ti bal yu'ta ilay. The knowledge is not gonna come. It has to be approached. And he said there's no difference, difference between a royal or a normal person when it comes to seeking knowledge. And this is the reason in Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah the Almighty says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The most respected and honored person in the sight of Allah the Almighty is the one with lots of taqwa and piety, not with lots of knowledge, not with lots of money or wealth or beauty or anything else, or fame, for example. It comes to taqwa, which is piety. When Bukhari was so severe and strict about knowledge, the king decided to punish him and send him into exile. And the story is very long. If you're interested, you can go and read this. My job is to give you insights. Because if I start taking the stories of good manners Not just this one class or 4 classes or 5 which I'm going to take with you, but it's going to take lots and lots of days. The final one which I'm going to say is Abu Yusuf, the student of Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi. The famous statement Abu Yusuf says is, Al-ilmu la yu'tika ba'dahu hatta tu'tiyahu kullak. Do you want me to write these statements, or is it enough for me to just dictate it? Because I don't know the أكتب ولا أترك المدرس هنا أكتب. There are many statements. If you had told me in the beginning, I would have written it down. But I have the recording, inshallah. If you want, you can take it from me, or if someone else has recorded, no problem. Al-ilmu. Sorry? You can write? Okay. Al-ilmu la ya'ti. Without the i'rab, without harakat. Tamam. La ya'ti. But all the students or the sisters prefer with the i'rab, without the i'rab. Without the i'rab, mashallah. The students of Aspire. Wallahi, I don't know the level because I've never been with the students. I've just heard their stories, quite inspiring actually. But yukta ilay. Is it clear, or do you want me to write it even clear? Is it understood? Perfect. Al-ilmu la ya'ti. Sorry, this is the statement of Imam Bukhari. The statement of Abu Yusuf is Al-ilmu la yu'tika ba'dahu hatta tu'tiyahu kullak. Or you can write kullak like this. This is in Raqa'an. There are, fonts in Arabic, and both the fonts are there for you. Who is interested in calligraphy, they might know that calligraphy of Arabic fonts or Arabic writing. So this is a detailed introduction, probably half an hour or more, 45, 49 minutes, no problem. So knowledge happens to be an act of worship. Anything related to Islam is an act of worship if your intentions are set right. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. So if you seek knowledge for the sake of Islam, to serve Islam, and to protect yourself and the community, it becomes an act of worship. Not just the knowledge of Quran and Hadith, but any knowledge. Doctors, engineers, we have psychologists, we have many, many other experts. All of them, if your intentions are right, then it becomes an act of worship. So intentions, the first one comes as sincerity. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Allah the Almighty has asked the servants or asked the creation to worship Allah with sincerity. So one of the acts or one of the things that you need to keep in your mind for your actions to be accepted is sincerity. So that's the reason if a person gives $1,000 as charity and one of them gives like a cent or a penny in charity, probably this one is accepted and the $1,000 are rejected because that's not sincere, and this is with sincerity. The second one is be on the path of Salaf. Salafi means to be on the path of Salaf. It is not a tribe or a clan or a group, nothing like that. Salafi is to be on the path of Salafus Salih, rahmatullahi alayhim ajma'in. Salaf, who are the Salaf? Salaf means those who came before you, those who have gone before you. It's the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it is the Sahaba, it is the students of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Atba' Tabi'een. All of them come under Salaf. So I gave you so many examples, and if you're interested, you can go and read many millions of examples more about the akhlaq and the good manners of the Salaf. So I gave you many, like almost 50 minutes of that. We have class until 55. I set the timer. 12:55. The third one is committing to fearing Allah the Almighty. I don't agree with the word fear. When it comes to taqwa, Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi has a very beautiful statement. He says taqwa is like the two wings of a bird. It has al-raja and it has al-khawf. Raja is hope, al-khawf is fear. So taqwa is a mixture of both raja and both khawf. It's a mixture of hope in Allah the Almighty. When you perform good deeds, when you committed some sins, you do tawbah, repentance, and you then go and expect Allah the Almighty to forgive you. That's all from hope and expecting from Allah the Almighty. That's on the one side, one wing. The other wing is al-khawf, which is fear. Fear that Allah is watching you, so you're not going to do something that hurts Allah, that upsets Allah the Almighty. But the translation, even in the Quranic translations, you come across the word fear. No, Allah is the most merciful. Why are you going to be afraid of Allah the Almighty when He is the most merciful? So the best translation is to be mindful of Allah the Almighty. That's the thing I prefer, because fearing is just one part of taqwa. And we took the explanation of this in أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ in Surah Hujurat. Also in Surah Hujurat, there is one question I want to ask you. If you have taken the tafsir of Surah Al-Hujurat, if you have not taken the tafsir, then it's general knowledge. What is the other name of Surah Al-Hujurat? No idea? Surah Al-Akhlaq or Surah Al-Adab. Because if you look from the first ayah of Surah Al-Hujurat until the last ayah, it is all about akhlaq and good manners. Akhlaq, about manners with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, manners with the news that comes to you, that reaches you and all. And then it comes to manners of community, manners between brothers, manners between sisters, and it goes on until the end. This is Surah Al-Hujurat, continual observance of Allah the Almighty, which is remembering Allah and not leaving a moment in your life go without remembering Allah the Almighty. Because the knowledge which you have is practically your life. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have been sent to complete the good manners, which is the mission of Rasulullah, which is the completion of life So when it comes to the point number 4, which the author has mentioned over here, is you should not have any moment in your life without the remembrance of Allah the Almighty. That's the reason, if you see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in a hadith, he used to do istighfar or repentance, astaghfirullah, 70 to 100 times. And what was the job of Rasulullah? He was not a doctor, he was not a teacher, he was nothing. All he used to do is preach Islam, go in the community, roam around the streets of Medina, call people to Islam, rectify the livelihood of the Medini people and all that. So all his life was in da'wah, and all his life was in the completion of the mission that Allah had sent him with. Even in that scenario, it is said that when he was sitting, he used to say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, and Astaghfirullah 70 to 100 times. Why? Because when he's sitting, people come and ask him questions, people come with their complaints. When he's listening to him, or when he's listening to them, he's not going to just sit idle. He's going to keep on saying something. Like, someone is talking to me, I can keep, doing something over here without that. Look at the stories of the people from the past. Forget Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because it's too long, right? So let's give you some practical examples from today's time. We have many scholars who passed away recently. We have scholars from the past. They happen to be from Shaykh Abdus Salam and his colleagues also. He personally told these stories, and they happen to be from a little bit from the people of the past. And I've personally seen some of my scholars doing this, my Shaykh. Is that, in the olden times they used to have pens, but not like these. They had pens, they used to scrape it and then sharpen it, dip it, and then write it. So when the pens become blunt, they used to leave it aside until someone comes to visit them. The moment they come to visit them, they start sharpening while listening to them. That's how they utilize their time. Because they have to learn knowledge, so they have to make use of everything. Shaykh Abdus Salam, Hafidhullah, and his colleagues, the story he told me is that they used to keep aside their clothes which they need to iron until people come and visit them and they start ironing the clothes. Or they used to do research work, so they don't have laptops in those days. They used to have books. So they used to take out books, read it, and they never went and place it back. They used to leave it on the desk until people come. Then while talking to the people, they're keeping it. My own grandmother told me about Shaykh Abdus Salam that I used to see a father sitting on stairs and he had long shelves, the founder of Aspire, that he had long shelves on the upper part of the room, like there was a room full of books. He used to sit on the upper part of the ladder and he's reading books. For hours he's sitting on that ladder, and we used to be afraid that he might fall off from there. So that's how much the scholars have devoted to become of these level. It's not like easy child's play to become a scholar or to come with this. So when a scholar says something, the default we have in our minds when we're learning or listening to a scholar is that they are truthful in what they're saying. Because it's not a joke to sit on the ladder that high, spend hours over there, write a book of 3,000 pages, and then they might be joking or playing with Islam. They might err or they might go wrong somewhere, but it's human to become wrong, because humans are flawed by nature. If a human tries to come and reach the stage of perfection, that is for Allah the Almighty. Yeah, humans should try to go and do the thing they are doing to the most perfect level they can, but they shouldn't expect that they can do it 100%. So when someone does a mistake, don't take advantage of it. We're going to learn that also, inshallah, when it comes to the discipline and manners with teachers. So when they err or when they make a mistake, we go and talk to them and we remind them of that. We don't go around saying that they're lying or cheating, because that's not him doing it deliberately, because they spent their whole lives. Point number 5 is lower your wing, or that is a metaphor, and put your arrogance and pride behind you, which is to leave away, show off, and all those things. Because, and Rasulullah said in the hadith, مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْعِلْمَ لِيُمَارِ بِهِ السُّفَهَاء. And he goes on to say, مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْعِلْمَ لِيُمَارِ بِهِ السُّفَهَاء أَوْ يُجَادِلَ بِهِ الْعُلَمَاء أو يبتغي به عرضا من الدنيا فقد دخل النار. Those who learn knowledge, sincerity in all these come in this hadith. Those who learn knowledge to argue with the foolish, or to debate with scholars, or to get fame and status and attract people to them, then they are creating their abode and living in hellfire. فقد دخل النار. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself says, إِنَّ أَخْوَفَ مَا أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ الشِّرْكَ الْأَصْغَرُ. The most dangerous thing I'm afraid that's going to afflict you and cause you disturbance is الشِّرْكَ الْأَصْغَرُ, the lower shirk or the minor shirk. And أَتَدْرُونَ مَا الشِّرْكَ الْأَصْغَرُ? Do you know what is shirk al-asghar? Then it is, Rasulullah says, it is a riya, showing off. And I could quote you many examples of these scholars, really learned scholars who were really learned, like they would know, many who could reach to that level, but do you know they became non-Muslims, they became atheists. From this time I'm going to quote you uh, I think his name's Abdullah al-Qasim or something. I should look into the name properly. I'm forgetting it. There are two names coming to my mind. He happened to be one of the most learned scholars, and he refuted atheism. And then later on he got afflicted with arrogance and pride, and he became an atheist, and he refuted his own books. It happened in probably 50 years ago or something, very recent, like not too long ago. Sixth is contentment and zuhd. Zuhd is to, feel content with what Allah has given to you and not indulge too much in this dunya. Now, coming to indulging in this dunya, it does not mean that when you have the riches of this dunya or the wealth of this dunya or knowledge and all that, you're like, no, I'm going to wear bad clothes, torn clothes, I'm not going to, wear the best of my attires. No. Look at Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi. He says, I know some scholars who used to spend lots and lots of money to buy a very expensive dress. And why they used to buy it? Only to pray in those dresses. They used to buy these dresses, very expensive, and they used to keep it for salah. They used to keep it for salah, and they used to say that Inna Rabbi ahaqqu an uzayyina lahu. My Lord is the most deserving for whom I should beautify myself. Ya bani Adam khudhu zinatakum 'inda kulli masjid. O children of Adam alayhi salam, when you enter the masajid, maintain your beauty and your discipline when you enter the masjid. So it's not like you have the capacity and then you don't wear it and then say I'm in zuhd or I'm in pride like the sadhus or these fathers and these people from the other faiths do it in this. Look at the stories of these scholars. I'll add some other name. He was known to be of the level of Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi and Layth ibn Sa'ad. And Layth ibn Sa'ad, the scholars have gone to the extent to say and Layth ibn Sa'ad and Layth afqah min Malik lakinna tullabahu dayya'un. And Layth bin Sa'ad. The scholars used to compare Malik and Layth and say that he was more knowledgeable than Malik, but his students did not care of his knowledge and they did not protect his knowledge. That's why his knowledge got lost and fragments and bits are mentioned in other books. Look at Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi. Anyone knows that he was a businessman. تعرفون كان تاجرا. تاجر الحرير. He was the trader of silk. Imagine the money he had, to the extent that scholars and the narrators of history say that he used to give away money and he used to forget it, to the extent that people sometimes take money from him and then they used to be shy to come and meet him. Once Abu Hanifa saw a man hiding from him, so he calls him and says, why are you hiding from me? He said, I took so and so money from you, so much amount of money, I'm unable to pay it back, so I'm shy. He said, forget it, I've forgiven you. This is him. Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi. No, Shafi'i had a different life. Ahmad ibn Hanbal had a completely different life because he devoted himself to knowledge all his life, so he did not have time to focus on other stuff. Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, he devoted himself to knowledge, right? But do you know, Ibn Taymiyyah's brothers were businessmen who used to spend on him. Take a Layth ibn Sa'ad. Wherever he used to go, he used to take 3 ships with him. 3 ships. One for himself, one for his students, one for his goods and trades. 3 ships. This is the knowledge and the wealth these scholars had. So when it comes to zuhd, it's not just living poor or living as a miskeen or needy person, no. And live how much ever you want to, but don't make that your priority. Look, Layth ibn Sa'ad had that much money, Abu Hanifa had that much money, but their names are going to be mentioned today, and until Allah wishes the names to be mentioned. And Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi passed away in 150 Hijri, and today we are living in 1445. approximately how many years? 1,300 years and 350 years ago. His name is being mentioned, Layth ibn Sa'd. All of these are from the 2nd century of Islam. And we are living in the 15th century of Islam and see their names are being mentioned until today. They had wealth. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, go to the scholar, go to the Sahaba. Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu. Look at the knowledge Abdurrahman ibn Auf had, and look at the wealth Abdurrahman ibn Auf had, to the extent that if he used to take sand or if he used to lift a rock, it was said that he will find gold. So zuhd does not mean that you should live a poor life. It means you should not be distracted from Allah the Almighty despite the knowledge you have. How many of you have heard the name of Sulaiman al-Rajihi? One of the most richest businessmen of Muslims today. He's living, he's alive. Al-Rajihi Bank. تعرفون سليمان الراجحي? Sulaiman al-Rajihi. No one's heard his name? Sulaiman al-Rajihi, if you look on Google, Sulaiman al-Rajihi is a billionaire. Not just billionaire, but he's really filthy rich. Sulaiman al-Rajihi happens to be the owner of the first Islamic bank or something, Rajihi Bank, and he has many other businesses. He's a billionaire, and my teacher who sits with him says that this Sulaiman al-Rajihi, every 3 days, he completes the recitation of Quran. One Quran he completes every 3 days. A billionaire, we can look out. To the extent that once he decided to give away all his wealth, all of his banks, he emptied it and he gave away in charity. He himself said, I got multiple times more than what I had given in charity, I got it back. 3 days, Quran once, every night he does tahajjud, and numerous waqf and endowments and all these, to the extent that the Masjid al-Haram is over here. There's a road, Al-Aziziyya road, it goes like 5 kilometers. In the end of that road in Saudi Arabia, there is a masjid called Masjid Aisha. It's like a literal village. It's like a village, not village, like small town, like a complex. There's a huge masjid and there are many complexes. All are waqf in the name of his mother. A huge masjid. He has that much wealth, but look at his personal life. Sulaiman al-Rajihi, a billionaire, not a millionaire or someone with 5 or 4 figures of salary or nothing like that. He's a billionaire. That's his life from the scholar whom I sit with regularly. He narrated to me that Sulaiman al-Rajihi himself acknowledged that he does this. Sheikh ibn Baz rahmatullahi alayhi. You must be aware of Sheikh ibn Baz rahmatullahi alayhi. He was the senior scholar in this era, one of the most knowledgeable scholars. He had millions of riyal, millions of money. Like people used to come and give him millions of riyal, ya Sheikh, do whatever you want to do with this money. And even then look at Ibn Baz rahmatullahi alayhi, how his life was. Adorn yourself with the splendor of knowledge, to beautify yourself or to adorn yourself with knowledge is not just learning knowledge and becoming a really learned person, but rather you have to practice it, implement it, and maintain the discipline of this knowledge, which is, when you're known to be a learned person, you shouldn't do something that, because of your actions, people are going to disrespect that knowledge. Like for example, if a scholar does something which is not from dignity or gentleman actions, the people are going to say he's a scholar and he's doing that. Like for example, a scholar stands near the theater or something. The people are going to say a scholar is standing near the theater. He went inside the theater, even though he was just passing by. That's why you should try to keep in mind and always be cautious of your actions, because people are going to point fingers at the knowledge you possess the moment you do something. The Muslims today, the radicals and the extremist Muslims who go around fear, instilling fear in the hearts of the people. They see women with some shortcoming in the hijab or something, pointing out fingers. Or they see a man with some shortcoming, they point out fingers, haram, halal, bid'ah, shirk, branding names. People start hating Islam because of their actions. It's all coming under this. Look at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The maximum he used to laugh was until his incisions were visible. That's all. And look at Imam Malik, and there were scholars in these days also. When they sit for the lecture of hadith, they sit and they never move. That's all. They sit. They don't move. Ash-Shafi'i, when he's turning the pages, he's mindful of the sound. Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi, when he was delivering a Friday talk or a sermon, wasp, right? That dangerous creature that flies over here. If you're being bitten by it, which I pray you don't get bitten by it, your hand becomes really swollen by that and literally leaves poison in your hand, and it pains really crucially. I never understood the pain of that until I got bitten by it, and I'm thankful because I'm able to explain to you the pain. Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi, he was bitten multiple times by that when he was giving a lecture, and he did not move. He was, the wasp was inside his body, in his garment, biting him and stinging him multiple times, and nothing was felt in his voice, in his facial expressions, nothing. When he comes back to his room and he removes his garment, he sees all those marks. And why he does it, he says, because people would have been distracted from the knowledge I was given to them. Adorn yourself with honor. It comes into that, don't be a person when people look at you, they run away from you. Rather, be a person when people look at you, they come to you. When people look at you, they should love Islam. They should not hate Islam. Enjoy masculine qualities. This is masculine for men, feminine qualities for women. That's all. If you are a male, then you should keep in mind the masculine qualities you have. Maintain those. If you are female, then maintain yours. Don't become, equality. In the name of equality, leave your natural instincts and your natural creation and try to jump on the other side or cross your boundaries or limits. So, forsaking luxury, I explained to you what does it mean when you have to forsake your luxury. For example, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, I've come personally from Indonesia, I've come personally from there. I've lived there for a long time, got to meet, alhamdulillah, many people. One of the things I've seen over there which made me understand this point is, I attended a marriage of a really rich person over there, and I was looking for him because I wanted to greet him. And throughout the marriage of his own daughter, he's sitting right in front of me, I was not able to identify him. When you enter the marriage hall, you'll see it's some rich person's marriage. But I was not able to identify him. The reason he's sitting right in front of me, and he was so simple, so quiet, and he was not showing off or something like that. Even though if you see the cars, his vintage car collection, he himself roams around in a Mini Cooper, rahmatullahi alayhi. He passed away 2 years ago. Rich, but then simplicity. Like, he's not showing off. When there's a need, he's showing his money, he's using that money, and his family lives in a very comfortable life. But when it comes to showing off, no, he's not showing it off. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَنْ يَرَى أَثَرَ نِعْمَتِهِ عَلَى عَبْدِهِ. This is hadith. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَنْ يَرَى أَثَرَ نِعْمَتِهِ عَلَى عَبْدِهِ. Allah the Almighty likes to see the effects of His blessings upon His servants, on His servants. For example, Allah has given money to His servants. He loves to see that. So it does not mean to exaggerate. It means that you maintain your limit in that. I explained to you about this forsaking luxury. So for example, when we are going to our friends or our business meets where we are going to meet businessmen, You don't go there and wear the dresses which is not from that. They're going to disrespect you, they're going to disrespect the knowledge you have, they're going to disrespect everything you have. You should maintain that level, because you can maintain, go maintain that level. When you come to study Islam, maintain the level you should in Islam. For example, I might wear football dress, or tracks and all that when I go for walking or for football or something like that. But when I come over here, I should change my attire, because that's the discipline which I have to maintain over here. When I go for football, I don't wear this and go, even though Arabs do that. But that's because it's normal over there. But I'm telling you a general thing, not about jokes or about that. This is something serious we're talking about. So European dresses, that the railing does not escape you. European dresses, it does not mean like abandoning those dresses. It just means keep in mind that you don't wear those dresses which, out of the name of fashion or in the name of fashion, it reveals your aura, it reveals your body shape and all that, which is from the restrictions of Islam. Inshallah, we've come to the end, and we have like 10 minutes. Inshallah, we'll complete this. To avoid the gatherings of vain speech. Because the gatherings where we sit and learn knowledge and seek knowledge is the gatherings of Allah the Almighty. Allah the Almighty mentions us in the angels, and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes on to teach us that in the gatherings where we sit to learn Islam, to read Quran and to discuss about Islam, angels descend, cover up these gatherings, make dua for them, and when they are standing up and dispersing, they say, قوموا مغفورا لكم قد بدلت سيئاتكم حسنات. قوموا مغفورا لكم. Stand up while you have been forgiven. قوموا مغفورا لكم قد بدلت سيئاتكم حسنات. Your bad actions and deeds have been replaced with good deeds and good actions in your scales and records. That is the blessing of these gatherings. We ask Allah the Almighty to count this gathering specifically from those gatherings which this hadith talks about. The angels tell to Allah the Almighty, Ya Allah, you're forgiving them, but there was this sinful person, or this person who was just passing by, not sinful, sorry, a person who had no relation with this gathering. He was simply passing by this gathering. For example, a teacher is passing by, then they notice that we have a gathering of religious discussion. They come and join us, something like that. The angels say, Ya Allah, there was a man who was passing like that, and he sat in that gathering. Is he also forgiven? وَلَهُ قَدْ غَفَرْتُ الْقَوْمِ. The hadith said, وَلَهُ قَدْ غَفَرْتُ الْقَوْمِ. Even him, and I have forgiven that gathering, even that person who was just passing by and he sat in that gathering. So this is the blessing of such gatherings, that we should try to go and sit, and we should avoid these gatherings where it is vain speech and immorality and waste of time and all that. Avoid commotion. Avoid commotion is this, which I told you, to get into arguments, to get into unnecessary talks and debates. Adorn yourself with gentleness. This is one of the akhlaq. Contemplation, I told you, firmness and confirmation. Yeah. Contemplation is to ponder upon the knowledge you have, and the more you ponder, the more you might have the secret chambers unlocked. For example, Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, in his story where he was imprisoned in the final days, he completed the recitation of Quran more than 81 times. He says, I regret not giving Quran my time, or the majority of my time, and the reason is because Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, when he went into contemplation on the Quran, to ponder upon, which is called tadabbur in Arabic, he got to realize so many things which did not occur to him when he was outside the prison. That's the reason he used to say that this prison is my haven and peace. And to be sent into exile and to be removed from my community is a relaxation for me, because they used to get time to devote themselves completely to Allah the Almighty. The final thing we're going to talk about, the status of this knowledge we're going to take, is fairness and confirmation. Is whatever knowledge you have, make sure you give it your 100. Make sure you give it your 100. Not like 80 or 20 or something and then go preaching or practicing, because half knowledge is نصف العلم أخطر من الجهل. نصف العلم, half of knowledge, أخطر, is more dangerous من الجهل, than ignorance. Because half of knowledge is going to cause you trouble. For example, the students have studied fiqh over here, salah, and how do you place your hand, and tashahhud and all that. Okay, I'm going to give you an example in the community. This happens a lot. Is that, okay, we raise our hands till here. We can raise our hands like this, or we can raise our hands like this. There are three. Now, from where am I telling you? I can quote a hadith proving this. Okay. Now, after we have done this, I keep my hand like this. I can keep my hand like this. I can keep my hand like this, not like this. I can keep my hand like this, or like this, or like this. Okay, these are three. Again, three. Now, we have a hadith proving this. Where do I keep? Do I keep it here? Do I keep it on my tongue, or do I keep it below my navel? Or do I keep it like this, or like this, or like this on my tummy? Where do I keep it? We have three ahadith proving these. The most authentic in all these three ahadiths is the one which says about the chest. But all these ahadith are present, yes. So when we see someone who's not following what we follow, for example, like this. For example, we see someone like this, we don't immediately and say you're wrong, just because we know that we have to keep our hand like this. But ask him, give him the benefit of doubt, and ask him from where did you learn it. If he's able to provide the evidence for it, then we accept it, because Islam is based on Quran and Hadith. We don't immediately judge him by saying, just because we don't know, we don't judge him. For example, you go to some masajid or some places, you keep your hand like this, the people come, pull your hand down because they believe it is on the tummy. Or if you keep your hand like this, without shaking it, they come and move your hand. They're not focusing on their prayer, they're focusing on your prayer. And if you're moving your hand, they hit you or they do something, stop it. This is all because of نصف العلم أخطر من الجهل. Half knowledge is more dangerous than ignorance. I hope it was informative, and because today was the first day I entertained you or tried to read stories and all that introduction, and I just took one chapter. We have 6 more chapters, inshallah. From tomorrow we'll go completely into this. I hope it was clear and beneficial. If you have any questions, I have 10 minutes. I can clarify it if you have anything, inshallah.